Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, it's popping off tonight like your mom's bra because the Top Tier Wrestling podcast is now in your city. We got the Smack Talk for SmackDown. B-Fab done made a shook. Ciampa big mad. Naomi Cakes, in the words of Bianca Belair, she got that title match tonight. All this and more as we cover Friday Night SmackDown for November 15th. My name is Don Taven. And with me is the baddest man in the land, the literal assassin, the one and only Josh 2 Smash and Dash McGrovin. Let's get into it.
Oh my God. Wow. An excellent intro. For a second there, when you said I was the literal assassin, I thought I was about to be Will Josh Spray.
I thought about it.
Oh, snap.
I thought about it, but I thought we had already made that, like that name. So I was like, And now I think about it, I think we made Josh Taven before, but that was many marijuanas ago. What are you gonna do?
Hey, it's what it is. But a badass entrance nonetheless, and it is fitting for a badass episode of SmackDown. And just to get into it, we start this episode of SmackDown with Cody Rhodes making an entrance. He looks very severe this time, like a whole lot less happy.
Yeah.
Kind of storms to the ring. Doesn't even do the whole kissing babies and slapping mamas or whatever. And he gets to the ring and he grabs the mic and he basically says that Kevin Owens has crossed the line and that he knows he's back there. And asks him at first very politely, would you please come out here right now? But he's like barely contained to anger when he does it. And then when Kevin Owens' entrance doesn't play, he's like, Kevin Owens, get out here right now. I don't know why he turned into Vince
just like
McMahon.
that. No, he sounded just like that. No cap.
But then instead of Kevin Owens, we get Nick Aldis, the destroyer of fun and the killer of enjoyment. And he comes out saying, look, Cody, I know you're angry. I'm angry. We're all angry. We're one big angry family. He says, Randy, one of the greatest of all times, has potentially cervical damage. Man, rip Randy's cervix.
Yeah, so sorry about that guy's cervix.
And he goes on to say the pile driver, one of the most dangerous moves in the history of the business, outlawed from this company because of the danger, was what he used. And until we figure this out, we can't have him here. And Cody's like, so you're making a martyr out of Kevin Owens. You're giving him what he wants. The man is driving a Lamborghini. I'm not sure a fee or a fine is going to send the message you're hoping for. And bottom line is that Kevin Owens is an a-hole. Except he didn't get a chance to say it because Nick Aldis is all like, let me cut you off there before you say something you're going to regret. As a former wrestler, I know how dangerous that move is, and I know how long it took me to get to the WWE in the first place. And when it comes to this roster, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
That entire sentence, if you look at it, does not make any sense. I'm just saying, if you just look at that whole sentence, I know how dangerous that move is, and I know how long it took me to get to the WWE in the first place. And the next thing. When it comes to this roster, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And I'm like, all right, I don't understand what any of that means. What is that? What is that? What's that? What?
Well, I
What?
think what he's trying to convey is that if you go soft on him or easy on him and let him get away with that kind of crap, then
Oh,
you're going to
yeah.
be dealing with that kind of crap. But I don't think he said it very well, like because it was
Right.
kind of like what?
Well, I mean, that last sentence right there, yes, that's correct. That's what he's talking about. But what does that have to do with knowing how dangerous that move is? Like, what it like, or was I mean, were those just like two random thoughts that just came? He like said,
Well, I'm having to infer here, and I think what he was trying to intimate is that everybody who has worked their butts off to get to the WWE has probably done that kind of crap in the indies, but
mm.
you know, now we're here, and I'm like,
Oh, okay, shots
shut
fired.
the hell up, Nick Aldis. Like,
Messy.
if WWE needs to start bringing back pile drivers, like through tables out of helicopters. So shut the hell up about your weak ass work rate and trying to justify it.
Nick Aldis out here talking some smack. Okay.
And then Cody goes on to say, "Well, put yourself in my shoes. I know you used to be a wrestler, past tense, ex, former, don't do it no more wrestler. And imagine what it would be like to tell Randy Orton's family, as the person who rode with him in the ambulance. Imagine you're the one that has to tell him, that he might not be able to wrestle anymore. Or he might be permanently damaged. And
I
he
mean,
goes
don't
on
they
to
have
say,
HR for this?
I would think so, but I don't know. And then he says WrestleMania 40 was his greatest professional moment of his career. Randy Orton put him on his shoulders, and he told me, "You deserved it, Code Man." And you you were very much like, I don't
I was
think
like,
Randy Orton
Cap.
called him Code Man. He's like, nobody would call him Code Man because that sounds dumb. But then it's like Cody heard you because you know, despite the fact that I really hate that nickname, I was really, really pleased that he was proud of me. And
Yeah.
he says, it all kind of falls to me. Like the whole reason Kevin Owens is doing this is kind of because of me. And, I'm sitting here trying to tell his family, that Randy could be really seriously hurt and maybe not do this anymore, maybe not even be the same man that he once was. I'm paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
But it all falls to him. Like at the end of the day, he feels like he's responsible for it because KO is pissed at Cody. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm real surprised that he didn't go after Cody. Instead, he redirected to Randy Orton. But hey, that's pro wrestling, right? But he's making a decent point here. And he pretty much says, you know, if I don't handle this business in the ring, I'm aware of what this championship represents and how you want me to represent it, but I'm going to put the ball in your court. We can either settle it in this ring or I can go to his house. I could try and track him down. I could beat his ass in his own front yard. The ball's in your court, Nick. And then he kind of storms out of the ring, leaving Nick Aldis looking pretty much like he always looks, which is dumbfounded.
He left him with the Nick face.
With the Nick face. He had a case of the Aldis. Um, I'm giving Nick Aldis a rash of shit. I really don't feel that badly about him. I'm just talking smack.
Yeah.
I mean, it's SmackDown. I'm allowed. But I felt like that was a pretty effective segment. I don't know if my recounting of it did it justice because Cody's intensity on this particular segment was actually very good. Like he looked legit pissed.
Yeah.
And
He didn't
he
get on
looked
my
like he
nerves
showed up.
once.
Oh, do tell.
No, I said he didn't get on my nerves once.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, he looked ready to come out for a fight. Like he wasn't wearing his like super groovy like
Preacher
half
suit.
politician, half preacher suits. He was
Reverend politician.
he was wearing a sleeveless shirt and what looked like wrestling pants. So he looked like he came for a fight. So,
Yeah.
well done because we were left in suspense going, is Kevin Owens going to show up? Because Cody looks like he's dressed to fight, So it was good. This was a good spot. And not for nothing. I mean, with all the buzz going around about how Cody Rhodes' championship run since winning at WrestleMania 40 has been kind of like lackluster because he hasn't really done anything other than kind of work his way back to feuding with the Bloodline. This thing going on right here is actually very good for him, like as a
Yeah.
storyline. This is really good, and Cody was bringing it. Um, Moving past that particular segment, we are brought to the backstage area where Jimmy and Jay and Sammy have all met up, and
They look like they're having the time of their lives, like being able to do something together again. Like that's the vibe. And I could see that Jay was trying to be serious about what he was talking about, but Jimmy looked like he was on so much sugar and joy that it was very difficult for him to remain like in quote unquote character.
yeah, I think
Um,
Jimmy's just happy to be back on the scene.
yeah,
But the story is that they are struggling to find a fifth man for War Games, and that the OTC is going to show up later that night and wants to have a conversation in his locker room with all of them regarding who will be the fifth member in their Survivor Series War Games match. And then Sammy indicates that he has someone in mind and he's going to go find him. And Jimmy's like, who does he know? He ain't got nobody. And Jay just
again,
kind of shrugs.
yeah,
And
and
from there, that brings us to the first match of the night, which is a triple threat first round match in the WWE freshly minted and so glad it's here Women's United States Championship Tournament. And if you would like to, my lovely co-hostess, is there anything you'd like to say about this particular match?
really, it's a match between Bailey versus Candice LeRae versus BFAB. And like my introduction stated, BFAB was the star of the channel. Um, she surprised
Real
us
talk.
all. She surprised us both. And I mean, now there were some things that need work. The strikes look a little, they leave much to be desired, actually. But honestly, everything else, she pulled off a lot of power moves, and she looked real good. Um,
Yeah.
and I could say that about every lady in this match, actually. Candice LeRae did not get on my nerves. She did not bother me. She put forth an excellent effort. Bailey looked good. She didn't look. She was not Flophouse tonight. Um, but BFAB for me stood out. Um, and I mean, if Josh wants to, he can whenever he does his bit, will tell you about the names of the moves and where they originate from and whatever. But but just me speaking for my basic me love wrestling. Um, this was a great match, and BFAB again looked real good. Oh, I know that she did an inverted neck breaker, which looked real freaking good. Um,
Yep. Colloquially called the taste of pain. And it's not a neck breaker. It sets up like a neck breaker, but flips into a face buster. It was fabulous.
see what
It
I'm
was
saying?
B fabulous.
You see what I'm saying? She did a follow-away slam that looked good. Um, I mean, she did some. I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over to Captain Josh. But I'm telling you, this was better than I thought it was going to be. It was not pretty good, but a very good opener for SmackDown as far as matches were concerned. It did its job with getting people hyped because people were not really into this match when it started. But BFAB got people interested into this match. Honestly, she got people into this match. People started to cheer for this match whenever these ladies really got into it, and that's a good sign. So I'm hoping to see more of BFAB. If the point of having her in this match was to show people that she needs to be in the ring, that people will enjoy her in the ring, I agree, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on all counts.
Yeah.
I have to agree that Bailey looked good, that Candace looked good, but the real breakout superstar here was BFAB. Um, First, I'd like to note that B-Fab, back when we first started watching her, when we were looking at the WWE, was like rail thin, like always
Yeah.
kind of a taller gal, but very skinny. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Like she's still very lanky and still on the slider side, but she looks like she's packed some muscle on in her legs and up in her shoulders, and it's playing out in the ring. She was wrestling like a power player. Um, she came with the taste of pain, and then
Yeah.
the other big kind of like one of the other big kind of standout moves is almost like she did a swinging uranagi, where she sort of spun her out and then hit her with what looked like close to a rock bottom. Honestly, it was fantastic. And then
It did look like, yeah.
another one of the big moves that they ended up doing was I believe Bailey had Candace up on the top turnbuckle, and it looked like she was going to try and superplex her, but then B-Fab came in and got kind of underneath Bailey, like sort of in the powerbomb position. And so it sort of looked like they were going to go for that like powerbomb superplex combo, except that Candice LeRae countered Bailey's superplex attempt, and so the powerbomb portion went off, but instead of it being a superplex to Candice LeRae, effectively Bailey got power bombed and got a like cross body from Candice LeRae, and it looked like it was going to be a chance for LeRae to win, except for the fact that B-Fab broke up the pinfall, but it looked really cool. And just to kind of close out how this match ended up playing out is shortly after that, you end up seeing B-Fab catching LeRae in midair as she tries to fly at her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she slammed LeRae into the ground. And then B-Fab kicks Bailey, and I think that's when she followed up with hitting the inverted neck breaker that they were, that was actually kind of the taste of pain.
Yeah.
And that's afterwards, Bailey ends up decking B-Fab with a back elbow smash, and then she hits the Bailey to belly on B-Fab, and LeRae hops in and pushes Bailey out of the ring. So it's looking like LeRae's going to steal the win, right? Because B-Fab just got hit with like one of Bailey's finishers. But B-Fab managed to kick out at 2, and LeRae then like kind of kicked her and then tries to go for effectively the lion salt, right? Like it's a middle rope moonsault.
Mm-hmm.
But B-Fab rolled out of that, and I think that's actually when she hits the swinging uranagi. Is at this point, and she hits it on LeRae, but only gets a 2 count, and then I think B-Fab kicks LeRae off the apron, and then tries to kick Bailey with a. It's a move that Booker T used to use a lot. It's like a hammer lock into, or sorry, a wrist lock into a like back roundhouse kind of kick or a crescent kick. But Bailey ducked it and rolled B-Fab up and picks up the victory 1, 2, 3 just that quick. And I have to tell you, this was, for a good portion of this match, anyone's to take. Like, I know that coming into it, we were like, oh, well, this is just going to be easy pickings for Bailey. And even though Bailey did get the win, no portion of it looked like easy pickings. And at any point in time, I would have believed B-Fab, who we have seen the least in the ring, could have won this match. And so this was a really fantastic match for these 3 women to have. Yes, the outcome was kind of what we thought it would be, but in no way, shape, or form did we get there the way we thought we would. Like, LeRae looked good, and B-Fab blew our minds. And Bailey, of course, performed solidly as well. But Bailey snatched this win, like, quick to get out of there because, like, these ladies were all bringing it. This was a fantastic match.
Yeah. I could easily believe that every last one of them wanted to win.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like that belt looked good to all of them.
And if this is where we're going with this women's US title, I'm excited for it. Like this is the first bit of competition for it. I'm here for it. These
Yeah,
ladies look like they are interested and ready to fight for that belt.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So amazing first match. Really good. And following the match, there was a brief video recap of The Rock's recent appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, where they give each other the most disturbing pillows I think I've ever seen in the history of pillows, with a very like way more realistic than is necessary like print of each one of their faces, and I'm like, I that's no, like just no to this, no to all of this. But then they sort of got into a minor pillow fight, and The Rock like the funny thing is The Rock like taps Jimmy Fallon, and then Jimmy Fallon like completely like beans The Rock with his pillow. But after that, we are taken backstage where Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are kind of poking fun at BFAB for losing in her tournament match.
Harassment
And
in the workplace.
exactly so. And I'm sitting here thinking, and BFAB just put on a hell of a match. Like, good luck for anyone else looking at that title. But then BFAB asked them, well, what's going to happen to them if they make it to the finals of the tournament? Maybe they've got bigger things to worry about if they should have to face one another for their shot at the US title than
Hmm.
how she performed. And then right around that point, when it looked like things were going to get snarkier, Mia Yim showed up with a kendo stick, and then Chelsea and Piper like quickly scurried away.
Yeah, Mia Yim popped up like a corrections officer. Just wanted to make sure that everything was okay,
Yep.
and it
And
was
then Chelsea
highly
was like, go, go,
amusing.
go, go, go.
Go, gadget, fuck off. Um,
Yep.
uh, yeah, I don't know, people. It's late. What do you want? Uh, After that, we had our second match of the night: LA Knight versus Umberto Carrillo. Right, that's his last name.
Yeah. Yep.
With Legado del Fantasma, for the WWE United States Championship. And this
Yeah.
kind of started out like it started out with LA Knight coming out. It was an open challenge, right? So he came out first, and he was basically, talking his smack, waiting to see who his challenger was, and almost immediately, Legado del Fantasma music cuts in, and they all come out to the ring, and it's kind of like a little conversation that starts out before the match, that gets the match going, because Umberto is like just mean mugging LA Knight the entire time that the conversation is happening up there. And that's, I mean, so just so you guys
Yep.
know that like there's conversation that leads up to the actual match.
Yes. And there were a couple of things in that conversation that I noticed, like the invocation of Logan Paul's name a couple
Several
times.
times. Yeah, like if he were Beetlejuice, he would have
He's
appeared.
one away. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
one
yeah, yeah,
away
yeah.
from.
He's one away. He's one away. Although Michael Cole did say his name later in the evening, I don't think it
That's
counts
true.
because he wasn't the
Nah.
person who originally said it the first two times.
Yeah.
We're just saying they're out here calling his name, so
Yeah, and it stuck out because they haven't really said much about Logan Paul for like about a month or so now.
yeah,
And so we're hearing Logan Paul's name popping out, and I'm pretty sure that's not a coincidence.
yeah.
Um but yeah, it looked like Santos Escobar was trying to answer the challenge, but LA Knight basically said, look, you and I, we've already done this dance, and you lost. But this dude over here is staring a hole in me. And so that's how he ended up giving the challenge to Humberto Carrillo.
Yeah. And Humberto Carrillo showed up again. Another match where somebody we did not expect to give us a banger did so.
Yeah,
And
Carrillo's performance was noteworthy. Yeah.
yeah, and again, I'm not gonna go move for move here. I'm not gonna give you guys that kind of playback. That ain't my bag of tea. But I can tell you that honestly, this match was a lot better than either one of us anticipated. Um, and it was a pleasant surprise. LA Knight always looks good. But him and Umberto looked good together. And Umberto looked like he was ready for this. Like he looked like he was hungry for the opportunity, and he did not squander it. Um,
No,
yeah,
he looked
okay,
great. I mean, not only was his offense pretty good, but he sold everything fantastically. His timing was good. Like I'm not gonna gauge Carrillo's performance based on like who won or lost, but how good of a match did they put on together? And Carrillo and LA Knight actually looked fantastic together.
yeah, they did.
An overwhelming bulk of the offense, of course, ends up being, in the favor of LA Knight, but Carrillo got some good counters. He also hit a gorgeous missile drop kick. Like it looked great. Um, but yeah, in the latter part of the match, or kind of the mid to the late part of match, LA Knight kind of takes control, starts bouncing Carrillo's head off the announce table as he is wont to do.
Yeah,
Rolls him back in the ring and drills him with a like kick to the midsection into a DDT that just looked gross. And he initially tries for the pop-up power slam that he likes to do, but Carrillo countered it, landing on his feet. And then he turns around and Carrillo hits LA Knight with a springboard enziguri. And he tries to drag LA Knight to the corner. And then he attempts to go for a moonsault. But unlike the typical counter where like somebody flops into somebody's knees, LA Knight put his foot straight up and Carrillo landed on it chin first and like bounced across the ring from the recoil of it. It looked
yeah,
great. And then LA Knight was able to hit the pop-up power slam. But then he immediately tries to go like rebound off the ropes and hit a megastar elbow, and Carrillo kind of gets out of the way and then knife edge chops him. And then Carrillo has Knight perched up on the top turnbuckle, and Knight blocks the superplex. I'm trying to remember if he headbutted him, but Carrillo ends up on the ground. Yeah, he did. He did. He headbutted him, and Knight then hits a great looking, like really, really good. Like he tastes the air and he goes L.A. Knight, yeah, and then he does a double jump like up off the middle rope onto the top turnbuckle backwards and then launches into a massive megastar elbow and just drills him with it. And then after that, Carrillo's kind of like he gets up and he's stumbling around and LA Knight just drills him into the mat with the BFT to pick up the
yeah,
victory. Um and that was fairly fantastic. That was really, really good. And
yeah.
then
And
I
then
I see LA Knight,
I see.
I see Humberto
Oh,
Carrillo, and I
and
see
yeah,
Shinsuke Nakamura. We have a
yeah,
return of Shinsuke Nakamura while LA Knight is celebrating up on the middle rope, kind of appealing to the audience. Shinsuke Nakamura steps into the ring, and it took us a second to realize who we're looking at because his look is completely different now. Like he's wearing entirely black, and he looks like he's got some kind of like almost Harlequin makeup, and his hair is straggled across his face. But the minute LA Knight kind of turns around and comes down off the rope, he gets drilled by Shinsuke Nakamura, and then Shinsuke just sort of leaves the ring and walks off, and that is a return of Shinsuke Nakamura. And I would interpret it as a challenge for the U.S. title as well.
Yep. And I'm here for it. I mean, if he's coming back and he's ready to be good again, then hey, let's go.
Yeah, it's looking from his outfit like we're getting a repackaged Shinsuke Nakamura, especially since he's been off TV for a while. And so I'm really hoping to see something positive from Shinsuke because the last time we saw him on TV, it was not looking so hot.
Yeah.
But if they've got a repackage and he's stepping up and gonna like look good in the ring and beat ass, then I'm here for it.
Yep. Me a duo.
So still your WWE United States champion, LA Knight wins, but then also kind of loses.
Yay, but then aw.
Exactly. And then we cut to the back where we see Jay telling Jimmy that they need to tighten up before they go into the OTC's locker room. And Sammy, I think, joins up with them, and they, lets them know that they still haven't found a fifth member. I don't think we mentioned it, but Sammy had asked just prior to LA Knight's match. He had gone to speak with LA Knight about potentially joining the Bloodline. And that was one of the things that LA Knight mentioned when he first got out. And when you were saying that they had a bit of conversation, is he said, I've got Sammy asking me if I want to join up in this Bloodline Civil War. And to be perfectly honest, that's not my fight. I don't give a damn if the Bloodline, eradicates each other. That's not what I'm about. I'm here about this United States Championship. And unlike quote unquote Logan Paul, I'm not going to only defend it like twice in like a year or 6 months, So that whole segment had happened. So at this point, Sammy, kind of gains back up with Jimmy and Jay and lets them
And
know
he
that,
really, Sammy really, really needs to work on his timing. He asks people at really bad times about this.
yeah. Yes,
He's
that's true.
Somebody should talk to this guy. Just maybe pull him to the side and go, bruh, timing.
Maybe not 2 seconds before LA Knight is walking out to defend his title, and maybe not
Or
1
yeah,
second after Seth Rollins just had it out with Big Bronson Reed again.
yeah, literally, you literally just went up to a cat right after it had a fight with another cat and was like, "Hey, let's hold each other." And that cat's like, "I'm gonna kill you. Get away from
Yep.
me."
But at this point, they're
It's
all
a weird
standing.
analogy.
At this point, they're all gathered outside of Roman Reigns' dressing room, and they step inside. And then when we cut to the inside of what's happening there, you've got Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy all kind of like, you know, small talking, and then Roman Reigns walks into frame and takes a seat, and Sammy says, "Well, somebody's got to say it, so I guess it'll be me." That they haven't found anyone that wants to be their fifth member, and Jay kind of indicates that Roman needs to make a call, but before anything further can go on, they hear the music of Solo Sikoa going off, and Roman's got a TV in there, so immediately the TV turns to show Solo Sikoa is heading to the ring. And before they get to the end of like really very far into Solo's intro, Roman ends up standing up and walking, out of that scene. And then we cut to Solo and his bloodline making their way to the ring. And once they get there, Solo grabs the mic and he says, "Milwaukee, acknowledge me." And all of his
The
bullshit,
audience
fake,
does.
lame ass bloodline put their ones up. And I'm like, y'all ain't the ones.
The
You
audience
know it. I know
immediately
it.
they immediately acknowledge him, and everything's okay.
If by acknowledge you mean booing, then
Yeah,
he
no,
got acknowledged.
they booed the shit out of him. Yeah, true story.
But just as it looks like Solo is about to say more, um, the OTC's music starts to play, and at this point, Milwaukee is ready to acknowledge somebody. It ain't Solo. Um, and the OG bloodline start making their way to the ring, and they all, while they're walking up there, the Faker bloodline with Solo and Jacob and Tama and Tango and Tingo and whoever, all start to, position themselves ready for a fight. And the OG bloodline gets up on the apron, and then they all step into the ring at once, and immediately it breaks out into a brawl. And this was a great brawl. Like, you saw a little bit of everything from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looking like the OG bloodline is going to get the jump on them. Like, Roman is handling business, but we sort of find out in the middle of this brawl that Solo has been doing some recruiting. And in the midst of the brawl, out at ringside, like, because he didn't come down through the entrance. I'm not sure where he was, but he comes in from actually the announce desk side. Steps in Big Bronson Reed, and he enters the ring and attacks Roman from behind. He levels Reigns with an avalanche. Fatu nails him with a running hip attack.
Yeah,
And
there's a point where it's just Roman Reigns, Fatu, and Bronson in the ring, which means that Roman is getting decimated, man.
Yep. And the OG Bloodline attempts to come to the aid of Roman, but the numbers game is just too much. And you end up with Jacob hitting. Actually, first you end up with Solo getting a hold of Roman after Roman had hit, I believe it was Jacob and Reed with Superman punches. Like, he was like, I got a Superman punch for you, and I got a Superman punch for you. And it looks like Roman's about to take over the match. Like, he's just handing it out. But then Solo kind of gets him from behind and drills him with the Thumb of Doom. And that allows Jacob to hit Roman with the double jump moonsault, and then Bronson Reed also hits Roman with a tsunami. So now Roman is double flat. And it's just not looking so good for him.
Yeah, I think it ends with Jay telling Roman that he's got to make the call.
Yep. After
while they're in the ring.
Well, once we had gotten to that point where it was getting like that brutal, after a bit, security shows up and starts trying to break them all off, and the new bloodline leaves the ring, and the OG bloodline is left in the ring, kind of like recovering. And yeah, so you see Jay in there, like, hanging on to the middle rope on one knee, telling Roman, who is just sitting up from having been splattered, that he needs to make the call. And so it's looking like a bad time for the OG bloodline here. They don't have a fifth man, and the fifth man that Solo's team picked up is like the fifth, sixth, and seventh man in Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
So it's looking like it's not looking good for them.
So yeah, that's awesome. I like the storyline that they're going with here. I like this. And I'm very excited to see what happens next year. I think I might know a little something, but I'm excited to see how we get there.
Well, yes, and I think what surprised me the most is I thought for sure that this lead up into the Survivor Series War Games might be where we end up seeing Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu kind of come into the picture, but I guess not.
Yeah.
And so color me surprised. I don't know if maybe the timing didn't work out or something, because I could have sworn that would have been where, like, a great place to insert those two if they were planning on it. Or and I can't remember if we've said it on the podcast, but you made a good point that maybe they got cold on bringing in like any more new bloodline members because of just how badly. Like Jacob is great, but Tamatonga and Tongaloa have been kind of so maybe that made him grow cold on that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
that was something that I found quite surprising. But Big Bronson Reed with the with the new bloodline is a nightmare. Now,
Yeah.
I don't think it takes a lot to figure out who, in all likelihood, will end up answering the call if that's where Big Bronson Reed is at. But I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'm curious to see how they get there. Because, like, there's some seriously bad blood in that bloodline. Like, 10-year-old, like, the breaking up of the Shield bad blood.
Yep. We'll see.
Indeed. But after that, we are told by Corey and Michael that Kevin Owens has submitted a video in response to what Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis had said earlier. And he goes on, it's another one of those videos that's been shot in his car, but at least he wasn't like half out of it, sleepy, I don't care about this crap kind of attitude. This was crazy, Kevin Owens, and I liked it.
Yes.
He
Yeah,
goes on
exactly.
to say that he showed up at the arena in Milwaukee only to be rebuffed and told that, he's not welcome there. And he said, that's really unfair. And he says, but guess what? After they turned me away today, I get a call from Nick Aldis saying they want me to show up at, I think it's Utah that they're going to appear in next SmackDown. And he says, because their golden boy, Cody Rhodes, asked for me to be there, of course. But he goes on to say that he isn't doing it for the WWE because they don't hardly deserve him at this point. And he isn't doing it for like anyone else. He's doing it for himself. And so he's going to be there. And that's what we find out.
Yeah. He's
And
agreed to be there to destroy.
To destroy, yes. He did make a point of saying he doesn't know why he's in trouble. He was just doing his job. And he reiterated that with I'm going to show up there and remember, I'm just doing my job. And so I'm like, okay. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but who knows? Maybe when it all plays out, we'll thank him later. Oh, sorry, that's MJF. But it is intriguing, and it is definitely an interesting angle for Cody Rhodes, and I am curious to see where it goes. What I'm really hoping for out of all of this is a return of the pile driver as a move that can be done in the WWE. That is the long game hope from me out of all of this.
I mean, that's where all roads should lead.
Indeed. But that leads us into our third match of the night, which is going to be a match for the WWE Tag Team Championship with obviously the champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, versus the Street Profits. And I don't mind saying, I'm hoping that the Profits are up and they're going to get that smoke, because I am feeling frustrated for the Street Profits.
Seriously.
It's getting to where it's like, come on, man, they've got to win the belt eventually, right?
Yep. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So, just kind of a quick sum up. This is a solid match that the Profits put on with the Motor City Machine Guns, and the Machine Guns are looking great, and the Profits are looking great. And if I had to cite like one big ridiculous move that really stood out, it's when Angelo Dawkins delivers the pounce to, I want to say it was Sabin, and damn near throws him like over the announce table and into the audience. Like he pounced him so far. Like I didn't think Corey was going to make it out of his chair in time. Like he was about to be wearing a Motor City Machine Gun. Um, I mean, this pounce was ridiculous because Angelo, one, is a big dude, and neither of the Motor City Machine Guns are especially large gentlemen. So he got yeeted. I was waiting
Yeah,
for Jey Uso to just say yeet out of the back for that one. It was crazy.
yeah. I mean, he got a lot of distance.
Well, and then from that point on, it looks like the Profits have taken control over the Motor City Machine Guns, and it's getting to a point where it's looking like they're about to hit their what is it? It's like a super blockbuster, right? Off of Dawkins'
Hmm.
shoulders. And they
Hmm.
get all the way up there, and then out of nowhere, Tommaso Ciampa shows up and he starts attacking the Street Profits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I guess because he was upset that the Profits somehow cut in line, but I'm like, dude, yeah, you're mad about losing the belts from Motor City Machine Guns, so you take it out on the Street Profits? Like, I would have figured he'd attacked the Motor City Machine Guns more, and he did a little bit, but man, he's super laid into the Street Profits, both of them, and
Yeah,
it's
he
getting to
went all
be.
out for that.
He did, and I mean, I kind of feel about that the same way I felt about like how Kevin Owens is like super pissed that Cody Rhodes betrayed him, but then pivots to Randy Orton. It's kind of the same kind of a thought. But it doesn't much matter who Ciampa's super pissed at because before long Johnny Gargano steps into the ring and starts trying to calm Ciampa down. And it looks initially like Ciampa's like, oh no, you're right, my bad. But then Ciampa like shoves the bejesus out of Gargano, and Gargano's like looking shocked. And Ciampa just jumps out of the ring and he says, I mean, he's ranting the whole way back up the entrance ramp about like, you know, it wasn't about what we talked about. I was talking about the titles. The titles is what I was interested in. And so it's looking like this is absolutely a breaking apart of DIY for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know how much DIY is going to have in terms of like a shot at the tag titles because it looks like they're about to not be a tag team anymore. But either way, Ciampa screwed up the Street Profits shot against the Motor City Machine Guns here. And the Motor City Machine Guns, after Ciampa and Gargano leave, kind of stand up and they're walking over to the Street Profits. And it's mic'd enough that you can kind of hear what they're saying. And they're like, look, we had nothing to do with that. You know, that wasn't us. And they help the Street Profits to their feet. But then Dawkins just jacks Shelley in the
Yeah.
jaw with a straight right hand, puts him on his ass, and he steps off. And I'm like, man, I thought Montez was the one that was frustrated about this shit, but it looks like Dawkins is like super pissed about it. And
Yeah.
both Montez and Dawkins leave, and you're left with the Motor City Machine Guns still the champs because of the disqualification, but they're both in the ring like, what the hell, you know? And Shelley's trying to figure out where the taste went out of his mouth. And
Like,
it looks
food
like the
used to
Street
hold a
Profits.
special place in my heart.
And two major things to note here. It looked like the Street Profits are definitely like a different attitude. Like they were much more serious and upset and angry throughout this match instead of like party on Wayne, party on Garth, you know, kind of
Yeah.
attitude. And definitely Ciampa is completely unhinged. Like if they're coming back with the Blackheart, I'm here for it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ciampa's always been in good shape, but he looked extra jacked tonight.
You know, I honestly, normally, notice stuff like that. I can't say that I notice it with Champa because he's always swole. Like you said, but you know, maybe, possibly. I mean, he's looking like he's taking this seriously as well.
Yeah. So I am really intrigued at wherever this is heading. Like, if it's the downfall of DIY and less Johnny Gargano, or at least Tommaso Ciampa beating the life out of Johnny Gargano, I'm here for it. And I definitely am interested in seeing the Street Profits get their shot at the title and winning. Like, for freak's sake, like. I don't think it will hurt the Motor City Machine Guns who have been here for 10 seconds if the Profits win the belts off of
Yeah.
them and relatively soon. So that's what I'm hoping for anyway. And with the whole change in attitude, like, but there was another thing that they said. They were talking about, like, the announcers, when they were talking about it, they had mentioned that they spoke with Dawkins about it, and he says, "Look, I like Angela Dawkins said something along the lines of Tez and I will always be friends, but maybe it's time we start branching out and seeing where that leads." And so they kind of gave this indicator that maybe the Profits will break apart, and
Yeah.
so we'll see. Like it's starting to sound like the Profits need to win or they're going to break up.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing BFAB out on her own doing her own thing, which makes me think that, like, you know, her long-term plans as a valet for the Street Profits might need like a backup plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a possibility there that the Street Profits are going to go their separate ways too. Um, but we shall see. Only time will tell. But the several different intriguing potential storylines there, and altogether, this was a good spot. I was a little annoyed that the match got interfered with, but it was for storyline purposes. And the frustration of the Street Profits has now become a storyline, like they're trying to show that. So
Yeah.
I was here for it. It was pretty darn good.
I agree. Yeah, yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Um I can't say I can't say that I feel every bit of the frustration from the Street Profits. And I mean I have a bit of my own frustration as well because ever since we've gotten into watch because there was a long stint where we didn't watch wrestling. Uh but ever since we've gotten back into it and basically had our love for the whole like genre rekindled, we have seen the Street Profits be amazing and almost get back to that. It's time to get a belt, uh, but then something happens and it's
Like
snatched away from them.
so many, yeah.
And
And we
and that's one of the reasons that I even wanted to do this separate podcast, which we still have plans to do, guys. So just hang in there
it's
about
still
this
cooking.
because because this is almost an epidemic when it comes with the Street Profits. What do you do here? And then you got a team that, no offense to Motor City, but you got a team that basically showed up yesterday and got the belts that these gentlemen have been fighting to get for at least 2 years now. And I don't know how I would feel about that if I were the Street Profits, kayfabe or not. Like, I don't know how I'd feel about it.
Yeah.
But outside of that and just objectively looking at this match, it was a good match. And it was getting real good until the interruption. But I had already said that dude was gonna do it. I think I said it last podcast about SmackDown that he was gonna do it.
Yeah,
So
you may have.
yeah, but other than
Well,
that
what I mean,
though, great match.
yeah, I know you definitely said it to me. I just can't remember if you said it while we were podcasting or if that was just you and me talking. But you
Yeah.
definitely had said that you think Ciampa's going to interfere.
Mhm. Yeah. So, but with that, it was still a great match. And it was a great showing for the Street Profits. But the Street Profits always look good when they show up, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, why they ain't got no gold? Excuse me for that hiccup right in your ear.
Well, and following that great match, we are taken to the back where Naomi is preparing for her upcoming match. And we have Bailey come up to her, and Bailey's like, "Look at you, good luck in your match tonight." And hey, I got a win heading towards the U.S. Women's Championship. So look at us, women's champions. And they seem pretty happy about that. And then Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill show up. Oh, that's right. And Bailey had said just before they had shown up to watch out for EO because you know how that can go. You might not necessarily be able to trust EO. And that's when Bianca shows up and starts saying, "Well, speaking of trust, without getting too much into our history, pointing at Bailey, I can definitely tell you that we got Naomi's back. More or less, Bianca is indicating that Bailey can go. That they've got it covered.
Yeah.
And so Bailey's like, "Oh, okay, all right. You better have her back." And then you hear that I think Bianca mentions that she's going to be that after she says they've got her back, and they say, "We got you, girl." And something about, like, what was it, snatch and drag? I'm not sure I got it, but it was like an inside joke of theirs.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think I got it either.
yeah, but they cut from there to sort of show you that next in the Women's United States Championship tournament match, you're going to have Bianca Belair facing off against Chelsea Green and Blair Davenport next week.
Mhm.
And
And I
that
mean,
brings us. Sorry.
I think I know who's winning that.
Yeah,
But
it
hey, I may be
definitely
wrong.
looks it definitely looks like that one's going to go to Bianca. And if they keep signaling like this breakup between Bianca and Jade, all they would really need to do is put Jade in for this tournament too, and make them face off against one another.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is really funny because I look at other tag team competitors who have matches with each other in other promotions, namely AEW, and it doesn't mean that they're breaking up. It just means that they're about to have a banger of a match.
yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, that's all speculation on my part. Like,
No, no,
but
no.
they
It's
have,
it's not though. It's not because that's usually how WWE spins it. It's always like if
yeah,
these two people have a match with each other, then either there'll be an issue before the match or after because they had the match. One way or another, there's gonna
yeah,
be an issue. This is a signal that these two are about to break up, which is unnecessary. Because I mean, I think about like when before Fletcher went all evil, uh before he went all evil RKO impersonator. Um, him and Osprey had a match while they were still technically partners, and it was a banger of a match, and they shook hands afterwards, and that was that. So I mean, like, I don't know, I don't know
yeah.
why this has to be the angle all the time. Uh oh, what?
But the example you just gave in the long game, Kyle
What's I mean
Fletcher was
that's
harboring bitter resentment against
but
Will
that's
Ospreay
the
the whole
long
time.
game though, and it took a second for that to happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Fine,
I
fine.
do. I do. And I don't
Erroneous.
disagree that they could possibly have a match and still be friends. Like, they
No.
could.
Table flip. No.
But
Forget it.
the reason I suggest that isn't the case is precisely because you said this is how
Yeah.
WWE signals. And they've been
Yeah, yeah.
dropping that particular bomb like all over the place. Like, since Jade and Bianca got together, they've had these near misses where Jade almost gets hit by Bianca or something. And you've got, what was it, Liv said to her, watch your back, Jade, for when Bianca stabs you in it inevitably or whatever. And so there's so much signaling that Bianca
Yeah.
and Jade are going to break up that
But
it's
I
it's
mean,
not just over that match.
this is WWE though. They'll probably milk this cow until it's 58 years old. So, if they do break up, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Hey, I could be wrong though. WWE could be like, surprise, bitch. Um, in which case, sweet. I'll be like, oh shit, you got me. But I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we will see. I mean, sometimes I think they signal certain things knowing that they're trying to lead you to a conclusion only to swerve
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
But that happens far less often than it is actually what it appears to be on its face. Um, but that now actually brings us to the fourth and final match of the night, the main event, the women's WWE Women's Championship, I should
yeah.
say,
The time
with
for talk is over.
with Nia Jax versus Naomi. And in theory, in the back, Nia Jax has Tiffany Stratton, you know, and
Yeah,
the question is Tiffany Stratton going to help Nia, or is Tiffany Stratton waiting for her moment to cash in her briefcase? Meanwhile, Naomi has Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill watching her back, and also Bailey, and potentially maybe even Io. So Naomi's got a lot of coverage. which, makes sense. She's got the most cakes.
I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. Well, Naomi Happy Cakes McGee, um, put she put out a banger. This was a great match, guys. Um,
Yeah.
unlike the interaction between Nia Jax and Bailey, love you Bailey. This looked good. I don't know what it is. Bailey and Nia, it's kind of almost like oil and water. Really, they just don't look good together. They don't work well together in the ring. Uh, but Nia Jax and Naomi looked really good. Naomi put, I think, and it's weird to say, but I feel like Naomi put Nia over in this match. She did a great job at making Nia look fucking dominant. And
Yeah.
Nia threw out some moves there that I haven't seen Nia do. I don't think ever. Nia looked. She reminded me of, oh my god, what was that woman's name? I can't
I don't
remember her
know.
name, but there was a female Samoan wrestler from like the 80s. Um, that was just kind of like a powerhouse. Like, I'm just gonna grab and yeet you. And I wish I could remember this lady's name, but she was amazing. And she reminded me a lot of that lady. If you guys know who I'm talking about, or if I just sound like an idiot and I'm going like it's like she's not even from the 80s, she's from the 70s. You dingbat, whatever. Like, feel
Yeah,
free to
drop a
comment.
comment.
Yeah, feel free to comment, insult me, do whatever. I don't care. But tell me what it is, or else I'm gonna go, batshit. Um, but anyway, Nia looked great, man. Um, Nia did some moves that just freaking she threw a set.
There were some
And
good high spots. Yeah.
yeah, I know you're gonna give us the names and whatnot, and thank goodness that you are here for that, or else, because if you weren't, this whole podcast would just be me going, yeah, so she hit her real good, and the other girl did some kicking, and there was some flying, and I think, yeah, she threw her, and I was like, damn, and we were like, oh, that would be the podcast, so thank you. Oh.
I got you on the
Yeah,
play-by-play.
yeah, and feel free to take over, but honestly, for me, this is a really great match. And if there were a match of the night, because this entire episode, I thought was top tier shit. I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil right now.
Yeah.
Um, I think this might have been match of the night for me. Um,
Yeah, Naomi and Jax work incredibly well together. I don't think Jax looks as good against any other opponent than she does
mm-mm,
against Naomi. And they both did some phenomenal stuff here. Just to cover some high spots, there was a point where I think Nia attempted to. I want to say she was going for a power bomb on Naomi, and Naomi managed to flip over the top of her and hit her with effectively a sunset flip power bomb as a counter, and it was amazing. But there
yeah,
was another point where Nia Jax hit Naomi with a incredibly brutal looking pop up headbutt. So, like, Nia had a couple of new moves in the arsenal. Like, I hadn't seen her do this pop up headbutt, but it was like she popped Naomi up and then drilled her with effectively a Glasgow kiss. And
yeah.
it looked like Naomi got destroyed by it. It was really, really good. And then at another point in the match where we have often seen Nia Jax drop elbows and like drop leg drops, she did a kind of a off she kind of ran off the ropes into a falling headbutt, and I hadn't seen her do that much before, and that looked really, really good. Um, Additionally, there was a point in the match where Naomi hit a Heat Seeker DDT on Nia Jax that actually looked really, really good and led into a suicide dive that also looked pretty darn good. And let's see. There was a rear view that she hit like almost out of nowhere, like almost as a counter maneuver. And the rear view actually looked good. No pun intended. It might as well be called the cake drop. But yeah, there were so many false finishes in this too. There were so many times that Naomi looked like she was going to win.
Yeah.
And let's see. There was also, what was another really good high spot in this match? There was a point where Nia Jax went for an avalanche body slam. So she's holding Naomi up on the middle rope with like basically what looks to be a scoop slam, but when she goes for it, uh Naomi managed to counter it with like a head scissor takeover, and I was like, "Oh my god, wow." Cuz I thought
Yeah.
Naomi was just going to get drilled into the mat. Well, that actually happened later. Um Naomi at one point, I think that was one of the first false finishes, was that counter, and it was for 2. And I want to say at this point it's kind of late in the match, and you have we ended up finding out that Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair have been laid out by Liv Morgan and Raquel. So we now know that there's no backup watching Naomi. And so Stratton runs out to interfere to help Nia Jax, and ends up attacking Naomi behind the referee's back. But uh, Jax hits her with a running leg drop and starts to ascend to the top turnbuckle. And that was how we ended up in the situation that led to the avalanche body slam situation. After that, Bayley rushes the ring and starts teeing off on Tiffany Stratton, and we're like, oh, okay, so Tiffany Stratton's not going to be in the picture anymore.
Mhm.
And that was when I want to say Naomi takes the opportunity to drive Nia Jax, who was rushing her in the corner, into the steel ring post shoulder first. And that lays out Jax on the ground by the corner, which allows Naomi to connect with the split-legged moonsault. And we were
Yeah.
like, that's it. She's the
Yeah.
champ, right? Only a 2 count. Oh.
Yeah.
And at this point, it gets worse because now Candice LeRae shows up
Ugh.
and drives Bayley into the ring post. So now Nia Jax has like 2 people out there between Stratton and LeRae, and it's not looking good for Naomi. And at this point, it looks like Jax ends up meeting Naomi, who had gone back to the top rope, up there, and puts her up into the Samoan drop position and absolutely plants Naomi with an
Yeah.
avalanche Samoan drop. And that by itself is a match ender. I mean, I'm sorry, Nia Jax Samoan dropping you from the middle rope, like you're done. But Nia
Yeah.
didn't think so. She wanted to make sure. So after that, she drags Naomi to the corner where she obliterates her with the Annihilator and gets the 1, 2, 3. And so
Ah.
after a banger of a match, like really, really good match, Nia Jax
Yes.
steals the win from Naomi because of all of the external interference. And it now looks like Nia has an extra minion to order around in Candice LeRae. And while they were doing the replays of the match, apparently in the ring after the match, Nia and Stratton and LeRae were all kicking the crap out of Naomi. Um, and so that is how that match ends, with Nia Jax retaining, and a whole lot of outside interference. And clearly there is unfinished business on a lot of levels, but we are now certain that there's unfinished business between Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair with Liv and Raquel. And
Yeah.
I'm still very much in mind, though they haven't officially announced it, that this is the setup for the women's War Games this year.
Oh yeah. I believe so.
So after that match, we cut to a sequence where Roman is sitting by himself, trying to adjust after having gotten beaten up so much in his locker room. and he pulls out a cell phone, and he just kind of picks it up slowly, as Roman does everything kind of like very deliberate and slow. And he
Mhm.
says, "Call the wise man." And the crowd loses their minds. Like, we were waiting for this moment. We were waiting for it. Yeah, the return of Paul Heyman. But then the phone says, "I'm sorry, the number you have reached is no longer in service." And Roman just sort of looks at his phone in disgust, and that message just keeps playing. And he just sort of lets go of the phone and lets it fall to the ground while he grabs his head and rubs his chin, not knowing what else to do now. And that is how we go off the air for SmackDown.
I don't know why, but I felt gutted. Whenever that message played on the phone, I was devastated. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was crushing, and it was so perfect. It was so deliberate because
Yeah.
they know everyone was waiting for it. They're like, he's going to call Paul Heyman. Watch, he's going to call Paul Heyman. He's going to get the wise man. And then he said the thing, and we were like, yeah, woo. But then we get that like message that it can't be reached, and Roman looking crushed. And so literally everyone, audience, people watching at home, are just gutted about it.
Yeah.
And that was where they chose to leave it. After that, it was just Roman looking really, really disappointed, and then like credits and the end. And it
Yeah.
was so well done, so
So
perfect.
good. Oh my God, so good. I could not have asked for a better SmackDown. It was great.
Well, I know, no, it was. This was absolutely a great SmackDown.
Yeah,
I believe you stated it earlier that for you this was top tier.
absolutely.
Did you want to add anything to that here at the end
I would
for your
say
review?
if I were to give this show, this particular episode, a number, it'd probably be like 8.5 or a 9. It was great. It was fantastic. Kept my attention the entire time, and by the time that Roman let the phone drop, I did not realize that the show was over. I was like, what? That's how great it was. It kept my attention from beginning to end. Great episode. Top tier.
Yeah,
I'm done.
yeah, absolutely. So fully top tier, 8.5 to 9 Nick Nubs from you.
Hmm.
I can only completely agree with that. This was absolutely top tier. I'll even go so far as to say it's 9 full neck nubs. This was
Yeah.
an amazing episode of WWE SmackDown. From
Yeah, I have a
start
pocket
to
full of neck nubs. Take them all.
all the neck nubs, from start to finish, it was a thrill ride. Every promo was good. Every match was good, like somewhere between like good and great, and all of them were solid. This is absolutely a recommended episode to anyone listening. Please watch it. It's worth your time. And there's not a lot more to say than that. Like this was a pretty flawless execution. Well done.
Yeah. Well done.
So, with that said, I would like to thank everyone who's listened to this episode, and to let you know that I hope you all will join us for our next episode, which I believe will be our coverage of Saturday Night Collision. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so thank you for joining us. And with that all said, not much left for me to do but roll the outro.
God. That was the key of whatever.
Yep, try it again.
Bye, guys.
There it is.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.